Support WrestleTalk!
Be kind to each other in the comments. Every day, every Tuesday rather, for the last 3 months, I've gotten up on Tuesday and asked myself, is today the day WWE gets good again? Is today the day Vince McMahon starts to book a fresh, compelling episode of Monday Night Raw? And every Tuesday of this year up until now, the answer has been no. But I am very glad to say that Raw, for 1 week, was good again. Was really good. Had stakes, had good stories, character stuff. Things progressed. It was new. So we're going to kick off with something that was rubbish. I'm Ollie Davis, and I'm joined by Lukewarm Luke Owen. We are, of course, reviewing last night's Monday Night Raw. Just a bit of housekeeping before we get into it. Today is the first day where Ultrachats are only read out if they're $5 and above, because we get loads of chats, and it's just a nicer way to make the content. Some people get a bit bored when it just turns into a Q&A at the end. So we thought this was a good way to do it. And if you donate under $5, your comment will appear on the screen. The production.
Just a bit of housekeeping. If any comment that you put up, it's going to appear up on screen. Any Ultra Chat that you put in, it's going to appear up on screen.
Yes. Not any comment.
Not any comments. No,
we're not crazy.
Not. No, but we wanted to, what we found was that, by the Ultra Chats, we're very, very, grateful to everyone that sent in Ultra Chats. Problem is that we feel like we're rushing through the review so that we can get to those Ultra Chats. So this way we feel like we can now spend more time doing a review.
And the money. So what happened last night after... it's been about a month, hasn't it, since Nikki Cross returned? She'd recovered from injury, but she was just sitting around for ages, nothing to do, and then she popped up as a lumberjack in a Miz versus Damian Priest match. Wow, I mean, I said we wanted something new for Damian Priest. I didn't think not being anywhere was going to be a part of that.
So according to Meltzer, it's because Damian Priest is suffering from a back injury. It's in fact actually the back injury that nearly got him off WrestleMania in the first place. Remember back?
Oh, wow.
They announced it as Damian Priest. I said it again. I've said it for 2 times in a row. The Miz versus Bad Bunny in a singles match because they weren't sure whether they could get Morrison and Priest cleared. Then they could, which seems a bit sketchy now in hindsight, so that we could have the tag team match. And then Priest has basically just been wrestling Miz ever since. And now he's taking the time off to heal from the back injury that he suffered before WrestleMania.
Well, at least, he held on long enough to have that zombie match. That would have been a shame to miss out on. So Nikki Cross just randomly appears there. And then she gets this gimmick where she runs away from Charlotte Flair and or Rhea Ripley. But that, because it's a beat the clock challenge, that means she wins those matches. And then, she has 3 weeks of being beaten and not really doing anything of note, but being on the winning side. And she celebrates yeah, look at me. Now, this has fueled a character change where she cut the camera. It's a Money in the Bank qualifying match on this Raw. It's Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross versus Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. And before it gets going, it cuts backstage, and immediately you're just greeted by the thumbnail for this video, which is Nikki Cross's face right in close-up with the sort of Hurricane Helms eye mask, or a Green Lantern-style eye mask, and it's blue. And she says, yeah, so I won a few matches. I'm a superhero now.
Yeah, her gimmick is that it's basically the babyface version of Eva Marie's character. Because Eva Marie's character is I'm an inspiration. People want to be just like me. And, that should have fueled the stuff with Viper later on, which we'll get to because boy, howdy, was I'm super mad about all of that. But hers is more of it's a more earnest version of that, which is just I want to inspire people to be better. It doesn't matter what your lot is in life. Doesn't matter how big you are, how short you are, how thin you are, how fat you are. I want to be that inspirational purpose, that person that makes people get out of bed in the morning. So I'm now a superhero, and she's it's all about the spirit to win. It is effectively, in so many words, take your prayers, eat your vitamins. That is what we're doing here. Say your prayers, eat your vitamins.
I think she performed it very well. I think Nikki Cross generally can make most things work, but to an extent. There's some things that are inherently mid-card gimmicks or even undercard. They're resigned to comedy. Of course, this has been done many times before. We've had the Hurricane, Shane Helms. We've had Rosie?
Well, yeah,
with
Rosie.
With Hurricane. Yeah, just
and
Rosie.
It was Mighty Molly with the
Mighty
Hurricane
Molly, Molly Holly. So we've had this before, and I think she'll get it over. And a lot of people I've seen have been like, yeah, but, we all like Molly Holly. We all like the Hurricane. I'm like, yeah, you're right. We do. And I think that is through a nostalgic lens, personally. I think if we'd seen someone do work as a more serious character or a more psychotic character, and now she's playing a superhero, as an adult, I'm just like, it's a bit clownish. And
I thought it worked for that. I thought the Hurricane made it work. Helms made it work. Really, really great. I think Mighty Molly, it's not my favorite era of Molly Holly. And, Rosie really enjoyed it. Like the pop that they got when they won the tag titles is sort of testament to how over they got over as an act. But Helms really, really got the role. And it was his character. He would say that the Hurricane isn't a superhero, but he thinks that he is. And there's that moment when he's in the Rumble and he tries to choke slam Austin and Triple H. That is one of my favorite Rumble moments ever. So I think that Helms made it work. I don't think I could say the same for Super Eric over in TNA. I don't think I could say the same for Ricochet when he was being given the promo, because she cut the Ricochet promo that Ricochet had a few years ago, where it's like, superheroes are real, gee willikers, we're so lucky to be out here. And I don't think it would have worked if it was given to Pac either, when they wanted him to be Mighty Mouse. This can work. This can totally get over, but it'll get you over to a certain level.
Another defense of this is that it's Nikki's idea. So Killian Dane, who his real life husband, he's tweeted out, hey, she had an idea. They let her run with it. And, that's good. I'm all for wrestlers having more creative input on their characters. However, I think in this instance, it's a bit broken, because I feel like Nikki has tried so hard, gotten in great shape. Last year, when she was jumping around on commentary, she is always trying to get on TV, with Sanity, of course. And she's just been turned down time and time again. The whole Alexa Bliss stuff when they were friends, that's her force of will and character, getting herself into those spots. And I think eventually, when you've tried everything, you are a bit like, well, what does Vince McMahon like? Okay, I'll pitch this, permanently mid-card character, and he'll probably go for that. She is going to get more screen time. I have no doubt about that. She's going to get more offense, as we saw in this match. She got the bulk of the action, and she pinned to win clean over, was it Shayna Baszler?
Well, of course it was Shayna Baszler. You're
of course it was.
Yeah.
But it's just it's not as bad as, going up to Vince McMahon and saying, hey, I've got a great farting gimmick, and I want you to push me to the moon with my farting gimmick. Of course he will, but it's kind of it chips away at your own soul. And I feel like this is a bit of that.
Can I give you my pitch as to how this came about? This is pure, I don't want to put this out on the record. This is just pure speculation on my part. Here is what happened. Nikki Cross had a meeting with Vince where she said, I want to be an inspirational character. I want to tell people that they can have the spirit to win. And what Vince heard was, you're a superhero then. And that's and so the superhero aspect of this is Vince. The inspirational side of this is the character that Nikki was looking to play, as opposed to Nikki went in there and was like, do you know what I want to do? Dress up in blue spandex and wear this blue mask and blue makeup, and I'll be a superhero for you.
I think this would work quite well with Eva Marie. Why couldn't Nikki Cross have just been like, oh, I'll take you as my influencee?
Well, you see, the difference
you tell that story. They're both Scottish.
Yeah, I mean, the difference there is that Eva Marie, Nikki Cross is not a plus-sized lady, and that is why Viper was given this role. Let's be honest here.
What are you accusing WWE of?
Hey,
outrageous. Anyway, she did win.
I'm not saying it's the right thing to do. I'm just saying I think that's the reason why they did it.
She did win the match. Her and Bliss qualified for Money in the Bank. And Shayna and Nia and Reginald kind of lost because Bliss was controlling minds again. So I mean, it's good that she's got. This is going to give her some short-term success, and I bet in 10 years people look back on it and go, "Oh, that was a good little run. It was funny." Maybe she'll even do her Hall of Fame induction thing when they run out of people to induct in 2040, and she comes out as Superhero Nikki or whatever the name ends up being called. But yeah, it's not for me. It's just not for me.
Yeah, I'm glad that Nikki is getting TV time. That's the plus side of all of this. Because I think, she absolutely has earned that TV time, and she has been just so poorly treated since the Bliss split, which essentially was just, well, we're tired of you. We really just want to push Bliss. And we actually haven't even talked about Bliss got a new gimmick in all of this as well. New
music.
Well, they have totally dropped all of the Fiend stuff. Because she was coming out to Firefly Funhouse entrance music, and she had Firefly Funhouse graphics about her. They've just totally dropped all of that away from it. This is now just Alexa Bliss is her own character that is really now not connected to the Fiend. Also, there was no Lily chat this week. She said that on Hell in a Cell, Lily's still in timeout, but it doesn't feel like that's now 2 weeks that we haven't had Lily on the show, and her gimmick now is just, I am mind powers, and I'm controlling you with my mind now. However, what I'm not doing is asking you to lay down so I can just pin you outright, which I do have the ability to do because I can control you with my mind.
That's how I'd use the mind powers.
That's what I would do as well,
on the person I'm directly wrestling.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, if I'm like, because now Alexa Bliss is in Money in the Bank, I would just, look at whoever is climbing up the ladder and say, stop climbing the ladder now, please. And allow me to climb up instead. That is what I would do if I had the mind control.
I would hope I still had the telekinesis bit from before. Just look up. They should do this. She just looks up in the middle of the ring, does the sort of cock to the side of her head. And the cock to the side of her head. You know what I'm trying to say.
I think I've seen that film.
So it's just a big penis on her shoulder. That's what I'm going for. The telekinesis powers. Boom, penis. Boom,
as long as
penis.
As long as she has a good penis on the other side as well, like just trying to tell her what to do.
I'm not going to do an impression of a penis, but I do a very good one. But yeah, she just looks up, clicks, and the briefcase should fall into her hands.
Well, I know you could. I was about to say you can't do all of that stuff now because this is what we were talking about on the Hell in a Cell show yesterday. Is they've had to adapt her gimmick so they can do it in front of live crowds. But that version you can do.
Just do it.
Just have it drop. I thought you were going to say she has a cock to the side of her head, and then it just sort of flies off into her hands. Sort of like Bewitched, be like, and then
on a bit of string.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or she raises up to it. I think
going back in front of fans is going to be terrible. Look at all the fun we could have had with Alexa Bliss.
I think this might bring the Fiend back. That was the first thing I thought when they changed her music. I thought, okay, that would make sense to change that if you're going to bring the Fiend Bray Wyatt back soon as well. And who's Bobby going to face after Money in the Bank?
Well, you think it's going to be the Fiend, who hasn't done anything this year but lose? And he's just going to walk into a title shot against Bubble? No, come on, lads. No, behave yourself.
Why not?
There's some legend. It'll be Goldberg or something because SummerSlam is, oh crap, we haven't built any stars in 18 months. We've just got to bring in anyone we possibly can do from the outside world.
Well, let's see what you guys thought of the Nikki Cross gimmick change. Remember, WrestleTalk.com/support. Get in your chats. We'll read out every single one of them. Over $5. Benjamin John Milne says, how do you stop a wrestler with supernatural powers? You give a wrestler superhero powers. Nikki Cross to beat Alexa Bliss confirmed. Almighty Molly, do the right thing, guys. Review AEW and Dark on a Monday or Tuesday instead of Raw. This Raw was good. Honestly, this was the only bad thing about it. Well, the only really bad thing about it. We haven't really spoken about Cross and Bliss and that they were just together. I felt like that was a bit of a waste.
they mention on commentary former tag team partners, like former, they're like the former friends that are back together. But like, they didn't do anything character-wise. A few months ago, Nikki Cross was begging Alexa Bliss to like revert back to her old self. They had matches based around this on Raw, and they basically was like, "Nah, we're not going to. Yeah, that's not that. That never happens. That's just not part of our characters anymore. I'm now a superhero, by the way, so we're just changing what happens."
But it's a new character, Luke. It's totally new.
That's a very different thing, you big deal. Oh no, it's not. I mean, technically, not really.
Anthony Velasquez, really good Raw with good qualifying matches, and the right people advanced to Money in the Bank. Not sure what to make of the new gimmick for Nikki. We'll get into that. But if anyone can get it over, it's her. Plus, her husband said it's a gimmick she wanted to do. Emma Bond, I booked during Raw. I hate giving myself hope, though. What if Super Nikki is Bliss brainwashing? Bliss's memory of Nikki as a hero fuses with her powers. It will be the first time I cared about Bliss Fiend. Maybe affect an old rival like Bayley next. That's not bad. I quite like that as a character B. But I don't think WWE is subtle enough to make that happen.
Yeah, I don't think the two are connected.
Stephen Guzman as well for now. I'm so conflicted with the Nikki Cross stuff. I love the Hurricane, and feel like I'm a hypocrite for hating this with Nikki, but I still think this only happened because WWE destroyed her NXT character. That was great. I think that's how I feel. You've summed up, Stephen. That I also love the Hurricane, and I do enjoy Molly Holly. So I'm like, why I should like this, right? But it's just a bit.
Yeah, and also like NXT is becoming even less now about being sort of like a proving ground or a training ground, because you come up to the main roster and get a brand new gimmick. And also NXT champion Karrion Kross had a tryout match on SmackDown. Isn't that what NXT is? Is just a lot of tryout matches before you go to the main roster?
Do you think that was just weird wording?
No, apparently
that's
like what it was. It was him and Bronson Reed were having tryout matches for the main roster. Like that's literally the point of NXT.
Damn it! Just watch NXT, Vince. They've made it super easy for you.
He hasn't got time for that now.
Okay, well, this episode of Raw, of course, get the rest of your Ultrachats into WrestleTalk.com/support. We'll read out every single one of them above $5 by the end of the show. This episode of Raw opened with sort of an announcement that, hey, we're getting all these matches tonight, 5 Money in the Bank qualifying matches. And I was like, oh, wow, they are giving things stakes. I always like this. The shows, the episodes where they book them around qualifying for something they always seem to be consistently better than average.
Yeah. This was a very good episode of Raw, but I think it says a lot about how low Raw has set the bar this year when WWE did the bare minimum of a good wrestling show. And we're like, oh my God, they've absolutely nailed it. Like they've worked out the formula.
Yeah, because I was thinking this is an average episode of Raw, really. This should be that average level of quality.
This is the bare minimum that you have to do to make a good wrestling show. With matches that mean something, with decent segments, good promos, and a great main event. Literally did the bare minimum. And because it's been such a bad year, we're like 5 out of 5 show, best show of the year, basically.
It genuinely is the best show of the year, I think. And
easily
4 out of 5 I gave it. But yeah,
easily.
Relatively. It's 3. So Bobby Lashley comes out with MVP and his sexy sisters to celebrate the victory the night before. He's not selling anything, and they start to cut the promo. But the New Day come out and they threw toast. I incorrectly said pancakes on my review video.
Because they were throwing toast because MVP and Lashley were having a toast. So they joined them in the toast by throwing toast at them. Now, I know there were a lot of people who used to be really mad at the New Day for throwing pancakes, and you used to like pour pancakes onto people because it was like food wastage, right? Which, it's a fair enough point. But I always used to be like, you know what? I'm sure they get eaten somehow, and that's absolutely fine. When they start throwing toast, I nearly lost my mind. I nearly joined those people, be like, don't waste toast like that. Toast is one of the greatest gifts that this world has ever given us. don't be so disingenuous towards toast. Toast is bloody great. Put a nice bit of jam on there, you're on your way.
Imagine if it was peanut butter covered toasted bagels, Luke.
Oh, I'd be so mad. So mad. A little sprinkle of sea salt on there. Delightful.
Would that be the one thing that would get you to finally stop watching WWE? We've sat through all the 10 years of not building new stars, 3-hour Raws. God damn, when they got those bagels out. Those sons of bitches from New Day. But what happened next is they outlined the sort of philosophical basis behind the conflict of Kofi and Bobby. And I like this because Kofi lost to Drew, obviously, quite recently, but he does still have that victory over Bobby, which Drew helped him do, dangling over. And they have had those backstage segments with MVP coming up to Kofi. So this was foreshadowed. First big tick. Second big tick. Kofi said, look, you in the ring there, you've got MVP. He's just there for the money. He's the business manager. He's not your friend. You've got all these women hanging around you. They're just hangers on. They're using you. Whereas Kofi surrounds himself with people he loves, with his friends, Xavier Woods, Big E on another brand, with positivity in general. And it's a clash of those two ideologies. And I think that brings a lot of depth to the feud.
Yeah, and it's remarkable how good MVP and Lashley are in their role and how good Woods and Kofi are in theirs in getting this argument across, that it completely makes you forget the fact that Kofi only beat Lashley because Woods interfered and Drew interfered on his behalf. Very heelish things to be doing for your baby faces. But I'm like, but I think Kofi's right though. Because he's that good at what he does. And MVP is so great at being an unlikable manager and sort of like telling you how friends are terrible that I don't like MVP, but I do like everything that Kofi's saying.
So things got out of hand fast. Usually they string these out for a couple of weeks. But we've still got 4. This is right at the start of the Money in the Bank build. And Kofi just went, can I have a title match? A pay-per-view, Bobby. And Bobby went, yeah. And then Xavier Woods was like, well, how about I face you tonight? Not for the title, but in a Hell in a Cell. And Bobby went, yeah, right, let's do that as well. It's a Hell in a Cell.
I know, right?
Has there ever been a Hell in a Cell with less build? This was a 2-hour, 15-minute build to a Hell in a Cell match.
Yeah, this was so apparently as well. Sean was saying on the Fightful podcast that the reason why we had a Hell in a Cell match on this show tonight is that USA Network were upset that Fox got to have one and they weren't getting one. They WWE unfortunately have got like two dads that they are just trying to appease, and it's like, well, you did that with your other dads. It was like, well, I could do it with you as well, Dad. I can go play football down the park with you as well if you want.
I just think that the use of dads here is weird.
What? What's wrong with having 2 dads?
And then there's nothing wrong with having 2 dads.
Are you saying that having 2 dads is a bad thing?
No, just the way. Just this is painting a weird picture in my mind. I don't often see WWE as the child in this scenario.
Oh, I think they're
I think it's more mistresses. They're mistresses, or male mistresses. There's no hate here. I've got a Pride T-shirt on. But
no,
the profits go to charity.
WWE are definitely the child in this scenario. Vince thinks farts are the funniest thing in the world. He's definitely the child in this one.
He's not alone there. Anyway, Bobby agreed to a main event of him versus Xavier Woods in Hell in a Cell. So, wow. And it was a very good main event. I enjoyed it a lot.
Really, really good, yeah. Like I wrote in my notes again, this feels very Vince Russo is back on the booking committee, which is like, Smeggy, we'll just do a Hell in the Cell match for the sake of it. Why not?
Yeah. After that, we got a RK Bro bit backstage. I can't even remember who Riddle was talking to.
I've only got him talking to Randy. Have I missed a segment?
Was it only Randy?
Yeah. It's had a segment with Randy where they're talking about the fact they got qualifying matches.
Oh, okay.
We had the AJ
Jeff
Ricochet
Hardy in this again. Yeah, okay, good. So they spoke about that. Randy was like, just you don't want to face me in the Money in the Bank matches. Then we got AJ Styles versus Ricochet. That was our first qualifier. There was a little pre-tape bit from earlier in the day where AJ and Amos looked at the Viking Raiders backstage, and AJ slapped a turkey leg out of Ivar's hand. That played into the match, got some good athleticism, of course, because it's Ricochet and AJ Styles. But then the Viking Raiders came down, attacked Moss, who was doing nothing, and AJ lost.
Apropos of nothing, the Viking Raiders just came down and started brawling with Moss. And I'm like, what are you doing here? And that distracted AJ Styles to allow Ricochet to get the win, which, it's quite surprising in and of itself, because Ricochet is like on the lowest rung of the lowest ladder in WWE. Like when they were having the promo later where Jinder and Jeff Hardy and Cedric were out there in a chat, I was like, I think they're actually higher up on the rungs than Ricochet is, because they've at least been on TV and have won matches. Whereas it doesn't feel like Ricochet's been doing anything as of late. Like all he's been doing is being a pain in the ass to Sheamus and being beaten by him.
But he can flip.
He can do. Well, so can Reginald. Why put Reginald in there? Ricochet.
Don't give them ideas.
So Ricochet qualifying really surprised me here. I would love to see it as a positive thing. Unfortunately, I don't. And what my kind of takeaway I've got from the Money in the Bank match we've got thus far, and I'm not trying to sound like the negative Nelly in all of this, is that it is not a star-studded Money in the Bank match thus far.
Hey, I fully believe Jinder's going to replace someone. So that's a way to increase the drawing power. I think they really have to decide whether AJ Styles and Moss are a heel or babyface act. I think it's creating a really flat feud with the Viking Raiders. There's nothing to be in here.
Davis, I disagree. You look how well the Charlotte Flair Rhea Ripley feud is going because neither of them are a face or a heel. Like, I think you can just do it either way.
I mixed up my notes. Now was the Orton Riddle bit backstage. There you go.
Yes, there we go.
My note from earlier was that I'm really glad they're not just going to do another New Day RK Bro match. Because that's all, it seems like that's always a danger. You'll just do the same thing that works over and over again in WWE. So glad they went elsewhere. Then we got the qualifying tag match of Eva Marie.
Yep, you're right. Your notes are right.
Oh, that was it. Eva Marie and Dewdrop versus Asuka and Naomi.
Right. Oh, boy, howdy, have I got some things to say here. I was the only person in the world last week that liked that segment. I was the only person in the world that liked the Eva Marie thing that they were doing with Piper Niven, because for me, it just sort of like, it's a new character. It's fine. It's what WWE do. Like someone mentioned it in the comments, General Aziz. They literally he was on Raw Underground as this lad. Now he's no longer that lad. He's a new character. We're not making any reference to the Raw Underground stuff. He's just General Aziz now. And we were going to say that, cool, she's no longer Piper Niven. She's now just Dewdrop. This is a new character that she's doing. And I thought, that's not what I would have done. But hey, it's absolutely fine. And I quite like the gimmick they're doing with Eva Marie, where Viper's going to do all of the work and Eva Marie's going to take the credit for it. Because that totally works for Eva Marie's character and it makes Viper look really, really awesome. Now, I think that WWE heard the criticisms last week of people saying, like, this makes no sense. We all know that's Piper Niven because we watch NXT UK. I think that was probably people lying because no one watches NXT UK. That's categorically, that's scientifically proven that no one watches that show. So I think they've now just course corrected because this is not the characters we had last week, where Piper Niven now doesn't like Eva Marie because Eva Marie's given her a new name, when that was her character from last week. And now she is and always has been Piper Niven, and she's unhappy with Eva Marie, and they're breaking up this team already with less than a week's build towards this. They're already having dissension in this. This just makes the commentary team look like idiots because they were playing into the characters from last week where they didn't know who she was, and they still have to play into those characters from last week because that's the only thing that can sort of make sense as to why she's now got this new name. So now everyone just looks like an idiot, and no one. Eva Marie is now she's less over than she was previously. I think the Viper's less over than she was. Asuka and Naomi get absolutely nothing from beating them, and now this act is being broken up. So really, what was the point of any of it?
Yeah. So Asuka and Naomi are through to the Money in the Bank match, the women's Money in the Bank match. And Dewdrop seems to have not fully broken up with Eva Marie, but she showed defiance.
But
and
why?
That's not how. Well, because she gave her the name. But yeah, this is week 2 of this story. I think one of the best examples of this kind of story in recent times is the Miz and Alex Riley. I thought that was brilliantly done, and it only worked because you had Alex Riley being just like take loads and loads of crap for the Miz for like a year, and then when he finally like stood up to him, it was awesome. That's what this needed to be. Yeah, rage. But this is week 2. Like, there's no emotional payoff now because it's that sort of bullying has not been given a chance to grow.
I've already seen her turn on her. So like there's no growth to be had from here at this point. I saw people being like, oh man, like they could have done this in a couple of weeks' time. I was like, a couple of weeks? You could have done this in a couple of months' time. Like why people are just so quick to want to pull the trigger on things at the moment. It's like not let anything build and fester.
I quite like the idea of them qualifying for Money in the Bank and having Eva Marie and Dewdrop. Is that how it's said? Well, it's not Dewdrop. I thought I could say it either way.
No, it's English Americanisms. I would have said Dewdrop because I would have called it Mountain Dew, but apparently, like in America, it's Mountain Dew.
Well, anyway, Dewdrop and Eva Marie, if they're in the Money in the Bank match, that's like a fun little. Oh, they're both gonna team up against everybody else.
So much more interesting than Asuka and Naomi being in the match.
Yeah. After that, like, I think the story of Raw for a while, but this episode in particular, is that the women's division has been booked awfully. Every single women's thing was either below average or actively sucked. And one of these is this like never-ending Charlotte Flair Rhea Ripley feud. Sonya Deville and Adam Pearce called out Rhea Ripley to tell her off after the DQ finish at Hell in a Cell, which is one of the more ridiculous things. It's not that freaking finish.
Oh, mate.
Yeah, is very annoying. And they just said, like, well, you should apologize or something. And she didn't. She was being a heel. And then Charlotte Flair came out being a heel. And they've got another match at Money in the Bank. So we've got another month of this terrible feud that no one's into.
So on the Fightful show today, Sean was saying that he was speaking to some of the talents in WWE about Becky Lynch being at the Performance Center. And he said the quotes I got back were, good. Maybe they'll start treating the women's division seriously again.
Yeah. I think Charlotte wins the belt. And then after that, we get the mirror image of last week's terrible Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke segment with Natalya and Tamina. So Natalya and Tamina, they're trying to do the photograph segment this time. But, the Rose and Brooke are making too much noise for their interview. They have a little war of words. They try and get into the ring, but Brooke and Rose fight them off. It's a match I don't want to see because Natalya beat Rose clean at the pay-per-view.
Last week, Natty and Tamina said to Rose and Brooke, hey, you should focus less on your photo shoots and more about your in-ring work. So this week, they were doing their interview and then said, hey, you need to focus less on your in-ring work and stop us doing interviews. Like, they're doing the thing you asked them to do. You're no longer the babyface in this scenario. But also, I don't think Rose and Brooke are the baby faces either. Also, I saw you beat her clean as a sheet on the kickoff show for Hell in a Cell. There is zero chance anyone can give a single F about this. There's no way anyone could be invested in this feud. Not even the ironic Tamina fans.
Yeah. No one has any characters in the women's division, apart from Bliss and Cross.
And Eva Marie.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
Charlotte Flair's got a character. She's annoying. Rhea Ripley's got a character. She is the living troll.
No, Ripley doesn't have a character. She's a troll.
She's
got a face.
Yeah, she's got a face.
She's got a face, she does.
That's her character.
Anyway, we've covered all the women's stuff now. The rest of the show was very good, really, really, really good. Average by any other standards, but really good. You know, Because after that, we got Randy Orton versus John Morrison. And I know Ricochet beating AJ Styles was considered an upset. I didn't really think so because I thought, you've got that tag feud to get towards ladder match, Ricochet. That didn't really surprise me. Randy Orton losing here, really, to John Morrison as well, that was a shocker to me. And that really made me sit up and take note of the rest of the qualifiers.
I think I would have enjoyed this finish more if it wasn't the exact same finish we had in the AJ Ricochet match, which is that someone comes down, brawls with someone at ringside, someone gets distracted in the ring, and that causes them to lose. It's literally beat for beat what we got in the AJ Ricochet match. But they should have just saved it for this one, because here it made sense to build in the Randy Orton Matt Riddle storyline. They only did it in the first one as an out for AJ Styles to lose to Ricochet, because Ricochet is no one. So that just it sort of irked me a little bit, really, because it is just like that repetitive, raw, terrible booking that we get on this show. And John Morrison in Money in the Bank, I mean, I'm sure he's going to do some fun stuff, as is Ricochet, but can you see John Morrison winning? Can you see Ricochet winning? No, because no one feels like a star at the moment.
Again, because Jinder's going to take one of them out and replace them.
I would love Jinder to take someone of that. At least Jinder's been winning matches on main event.
Come on, Luke. I don't know why I didn't think of this. Randy Orton's not going to wrestle a ladder match.
Do you remember when he was in Money in the Bank?
He does not take that bump.
Randy Orton in Money in the Bank doing everything he possibly could to not take ladder bumps was one of the greatest things I've ever seen in a wrestling match.
So what happened was Miz did the dripstick thing on Orton, and he's in the wheelchair. Matt Riddle comes out on the scooter. They have a very slow race around the ring, and John Morrison hits a pretty decent Starship Pain. Usually that is a ugly as hell landing, but I thought it landed pretty well. Orton stormed out. He's annoyed with Riddle. Miz in the wheelchair is quite nice because he's been taken back as a focus because he was really quite overbearing. The Morrison stuff was quite frustrating. But I'm enjoying him in the wheelchair, specifically because it's surely building to him interfering behind the referee's back. He gets up out the wheelchair, pushes it, and then sits back down. And I want that.
Yeah, I mean, the moment when he stands up, I think is going to be really, really fun, because you can have some really outraged Byron Saxton on commentary, which I think could be really fun, particularly because Corey Graves can then take the Lawler roles. I didn't see him do that.
Yeah. It's not going to be Linda McMahon. It's not going to be Linda McMahon levels. But so after that, we had the Bliss and Cross match, which we've already covered. Then it cuts back to the undercard backstage, which is Jeff Hardy, the United States champion, Sheamus, although he is injured, Cedric Alexander, and Jinder Mahal. And Jinder Mahal threatens them all what if something happens to a qualified wrestler? Will he get to take their spot in Money in the Bank?
Which I'm all for, obviously, because that feels like a bit of a storyline. I could go for that. Why have they changed Sheamus's character? Sheamus's character all year long has been longer than that, pretty much since he's gone to Raw. I love having matches. I love going out there and having fights with people. And then he said to Pierce or DeVille, who aren't general managers, why haven't I got a qualifying match? And Pierce says, oh, so you're okay to defend that title? It's like, oh no, I can't fight. I've got to break my nose. And then he sort of shyly walks away. And I'm like, that's not what you do. You love to fight. You love to defend. You love to beat people up. So why are you now afraid to beat people up? Apropos of nothing.
Yeah, it's just a new character, Luke. I don't know why you're frustrated about this.
Because at least give it some build.
It's just a new character. No, I agree. After that, we got match of the night. I thought this was a terrific bout. Drew McIntyre versus Matt Riddle. Went through 2 commercial breaks. Riddle, of course, really, really good. Drew McIntyre always brings it, but he just had this extra layer of just being an absolute, what's the word? I want to say war dog, but that isn't a thing.
No, he's a war dog. He's not a dog.
He used to be in the Dogs of War. You know what I'm trying to say? Someone like a grizzled guy who's at the end of his rope. He can't challenge for the title while Bobby's champion. he's got all these kendo stick welts on his back. He's visibly like his body is failing him in this match. I thought both men worked it fantastically. It felt like a real war dog by the end.
I loved this match. I thought this match was awesome. I thought Drew was great. I thought Matt was great. I really, really enjoyed the in-ring work here. And also, credit to Drew above anyone else on this show. He sold the fact he was in a bloody Hell in a Cell match the night previous. No one else sold that they were in matches the night previous, but Drew made an effort. They built the match around the injuries that he'd suffered by doing Hell in a Cell. And I think that really added to the match, really added to the drama in all of this.
Totally agree. And him losing has made his character far more interesting. Being stuck in that vortex of facing Bobby Lashley month after month after month, it really turned fans against him. And it sounds counterintuitive, but beating him, having him seem so desperate, put him at the bottom for a bit and he has to work himself back up. That's a story I want to see.
Yeah. I really, really, really dug this. And also, like, seeing, I mean, even with those welts on his back and his body being broken down from the night before, seeing Drew just absolutely throw Matt Riddle like a piss missile was absolutely tremendous.
Yeah, absolute piss missile. But also in this match, it wasn't just the Drew stuff. You also had the dynamic between Riddle and Orton. Of course, Orton's match was kind of cost him, although it was more him not paying attention, by Riddle earlier on. And Randy Orton comes out just before the second commercial break, just stands at the top of the ramp with his arms crossed, watching on. And you're like, oh, I mean, he's got history with Drew. He's got current stuff now with Matt. Is he going to interfere out of spite, get some revenge? And nothing happens. And that that is so measured and restrained for WWE. Riddle wins. He walks up and you're like, so you're still like, is Orton going to be proud of him because he beat Drew? Is he going to be annoyed because of what happened earlier? And he shows nothing. He gives nothing away. Riddle is like, Brandy, fist bump me. Randy, what's wrong? And Randy just arms crossed, staring dead ahead. Very, very good. I'm so into their act.
And I love a little bit of detail in all of this as well, is that he's wearing RK Bro merchandise.
Oh, so I didn't see that.
I didn't spot it either until I was getting the images for you for the news this morning, but he's wearing the tag team merchandise. So he's still into the idea of this tag team. However, he didn't qualify for Money in the Bank because of his tag partner, but his tag partner did qualify despite the fact that he was out there watching him. He didn't put him off. So there's like lots of internal conflicts for Randy to be working with there, and for Matt, who's oblivious to anything and doesn't realize what's going on. So I think this is really, really good stuff. I'm so engaged with these characters and just so into everything that they're doing.
We'll probably talk about it now because it ties directly into it. Later on, they announced for next week, a match announced a whole week in advance. Something must be wrong. Orton versus Drew versus AJ in a last chance match to qualify for Money in the Bank. I hope that gets the main event slot. I think the stakes, the stakes, the talent involved, more than enough. And God, Drew is going to be desperate because, you know, I think if he wins it, he still can't cash it in on Bobby.
They did say on commentary, I think they were talking about how he can cash it in on Roman, but I don't think he's allowed to cash it in on Bob.
I love that. That's a new wrinkle. I think that's a really cool idea. Like as soon as Bobby loses it to someone, maybe Bob, just for argument's sake, fantasy booking sake, he drops it to Kofi in December, and everyone's like, "Woohoo, Kofi, yeah!" And then Drew McIntyre just cashes it in, and that's a heel turn.
Someone said in our Hell in a Cell review yesterday, Bobby was the man that cost him the WWE Championship and helped Miz cash in. So if Drew's got like the briefcase, he can effectively do something along those lines, or even the person that's got the bank briefcase to beat Bobby, so he can then challenge whoever wins afterwards, whoever wins for the Money in the Bank.
Sorry, you went a little bit crazy there. I don't know if it was me or you.
I think it was probably me.
Lost Luke from him.
Yeah.
I agree with everything you said, though.
Yeah. just to say, so that Drew could like help whoever has got the Money in the Bank to cash in, just as Bobby did to him, and that way he can challenge that person then to another match. So I think there's a lot of stuff of the three. Orton being in there is the one that excites me the most, I think, because you can play off the Riddle dynamic. But yeah, I would say AJ being in the Money in the Bank ladder match is always going to be fun.
Oh yeah, but character-wise, he's dead right now. Orton and Drew, very, very interesting. I love having like two, like that. It feels like there's really real character weight behind them. I'm looking forward to a match on Raw next week. That's nice to say. Backstage, we also had one more segment where Jackson Riker is whipping himself.
He was spanking himself.
Oh, he was enjoying that. Because he told Mansoor was just there for exposition purposes, that he's going to have a strap match against Elias next week. Mansoor turns into Ali. It doesn't turn into Ali. He turns and Ali is there. And it's just Ali starts yelling that it's up to them to take opportunities or whatever. But yeah, Riker had a bit of a cool intensity here. I've been quite down on him, but I felt I got a bit of a Steve Blackman vibe.
Oh, he's never as cool as Steve Blackman. Get out of here.
A bit of a Steve Blackman
This
vibe.
is not the Lethal Weapon. You hush your mouth. He was just backstage spanking himself.
He was being himself down, being himself off. And the main event was Xavier Woods versus Bobby Lashley in Hell in a Cell. Just about 10 minutes left of the show.
Yep.
Hell in a Cell. It hurts me. It hurts me to say these words, but it was a fun match.
Yeah, no, really, really fun. I think, they gave Woods a lot in this. Woods, as always, was just tremendous. Although Bobby was great in this as well. Really, really, really enjoyed this match. And also because for the finish that you had for this, where Lashley tapped out Woods in the hurt lock, the Lashley lock, he then drags him to the outside and starts like pushing him into the cage and like putting like the hurt lock on again, so that Kofi, the man who is all about friendship and positivity and his love for his friends, has now got to watch his friend be destroyed. That can't happen to someone like Bobby Lashley because he has no friends. He now doesn't have a weakness like Kofi does. So I really, really like that.
Yeah, it's a really good idea to have Kofi have to watch that on. My only bit, and maybe they'll do this in the next couple of weeks because they have got 4 weeks to build this. Although I think it would have worked well here to really kick off the feud fiery, is to properly destroy Woods. Lock Kofi out of that cell. MVP and Lashley are in there, and they just like do a proper full-on injury angle on Xavier.
So there is someone who's just said here in the chats, but I don't know what the case of this is. Is this to give Woods time off because he's got to go film G4, which he did mention in his promo at the start of this. He's now the host of that TV show, or the show that's coming back, and whether he is going to need to take some time off to go and film that.
You're only working Raw once a week. It's hardly a traveling show at the moment.
Well, fans are coming back
I don't know
soon.
if you need time off.
But my point I was going to be was, if you want to do that big serious injury angle to Woods, that will give him the time off that he needs. Yeah. I would totally do that because it builds up the Kofi match.
Yeah, for Kofi to eventually turn heel, of course. Overall, I gave this, like I said, I gave it 4 out of 5. But really, it's a 3 out of 5. But by this year's of Raw, it's a 4.
Yeah, this was a bang average episode of Raw. But by the standards that we've had for this year, is easily the best show of the year. And I quite enjoyed watching it. They did the absolute bare minimum required and got a thumbs up from me. We gave this out to our community tab. 34% gave it 4 out of 5 core. 33% gave it 3 out of 5 average. That 3 out of 5, by the way, has been really creeping up all morning. But it is very much in that 4 and 3 range, which I think is very, very fair.
Can you just pop that back up again? I think it's interesting that 1 out of 5 is at 16%, which is actually over 2 out of 5. That to me suggests that people are so sick of the quality of Raw that it's going to take a while for people to vote positively, even if it's a good show. And I'm not saying that's bad. I'm saying that's just this. I can empathize with that.
I agree. Yeah.
But yes, it's time to thank our wonderful pledge hammers on Patreon. if you go over there now, you can listen to mine and Luke's exclusive review of King of the Ring 1998. It was an amazing show to rewatch, with one of the most historic matches in wrestling of all time, Mankind versus The Undertaker in Hell in a Cell. That's topical.
Oh, it's so topical right now. And it was a really, really fun show to look back on. It's so interesting to read The Observer from that week as well. We spent the first half an hour of the show talking about South Park. And talking about our memories of South Park from 98, 99. A really, really fun show to do.
So if you go over there, you can listen to that. And also, if you donate $25 a month or more, you get your name in the WrestleTalk Hall of Fame. Thank you. The Harbinger Doom Lion. The Harbinger Doom Lion.
I'd have probably said the Harbinger, but you go
Harbinger
with you.
Doom Lion.
An expert dancer, great swayerman.
The Gent, Robert Brent.
Yanni Zayn Hammond.
Infinite Crisis, Chris Jenkins.
We're all going on a Brian Huntsley.
You'll never get this name right, you idiots. Matthew Zimjewski.
Is it me? Oh man, my internet's proper crapping up at the moment. Full of flavor, Sean Blanford.
Robert Spencer. Period.
Marcus, he's got soul, Campbell.
All-Star Chuck Turner.
And lastly, and this one's a bit topical as well, Jordan, don't you dare call me Mountain, Do or Jew, whichever one you prefer. Thank you all so much for that. The Hall of Fame class for June 22nd, 2021. But hey, before we get into your final Ultrachats, how about you pull your thumb out your ass and give us a thumbs up on this channel? Thank you all so much for watching, all the nearly 2,000 of you tuning in. Please all give us that, press that thumbs up button because it massively helps us out.
Thunderdome thumbs. Come on. Yeah. Give us some fake championship belts as well. Woo! Yeah! What's Rhea Ripley? So, thank you. The intangible one, Cliff Beard. My biggest fear for Money in the Bank now is that spooky, dark, magical crap girl Alexa is going to win. I'm torn on Nikki because the Hurricane character was great, but so was Sanity Nikki. I just don't think the superhero gimmicks will work in 2021. Eva also needs to go away.
But Eva's was the greatest gimmick in the Raw Women's division, and now they've already bollocksed it.
1 week in. LJ Mickey. At the same time, I'm excited to see more Nikki Cross on TV, but I'm not the biggest fan of the superhero gimmick. But I'm willing to give WWE a chance to make this work because it's Nikki Cross. I like Nikki Cross. She is awesome. I think that's a lot of people's thoughts. RP Degnan. I'm probably fantasy booking myself into this appointment, but I do hope that Bobby's next challenger after Kofi is Big E. Possibly using Money in the Bank to get around the brand stuff. Would work with the New Day story and be cool to see the main event Survivor Series. I like that.
Or I think that might have even been SummerSlam.
Oh, yeah, of course, SummerSlam. Matthew Robinson. Love the ending to this Raw. Why couldn't Hell in a Cell have ended like this? Clean. Everyone is so ready to see Kofi against Bobby. And that's because they've done a good job the last couple of weeks subtly building that up with some great promo work from Kingston and MVP. Vandalia 1998. I'm excited for the Kofi-Bobby feud, but worried they will drag it out till we are sick of it again. How long do you two think a feud should go to be good, but not too long? Also, how about a mid-card championship title?
We've got enough titles as it is around these parts. But also, a feud can last for a long time. Look at the Omega Moxley feud has been going on since October 2019. Actually, even before that, it was when they first did Double or Nothing, when Mox came in and attacked him. So that's May, June 2019? Yeah. And they've only really just sort of ended the feud that they've had because you fracture them off into various different other bits and pieces, but you still have them with that connective tissue.
Yeah, I totally agree. You can have long feuds. It's about making them good and not repetitive and not using all of your matches up in the first 4 months. You have two people feud, you take them apart, and you bring them back a couple of months later. That makes it feel like a long-term story. Hulk Hogan and Macho Man Randy Savage didn't just implode right away. They had a year of build.
No, warn you, what they should have done was actually just implode them 1 week later, because that's where the money is. Charles Berg said, Raw was actually decent. Things made sense. Matches were good. Ollie, I'm a man of my word. Claw review #1. So Charles usually sends in reviews of dogs for bad episodes of Raw, but because this is a good episode of Raw, he has sent us in a kitty cat to review. And here is that kitty cat. It says, Boy is a sweet stray tabby who is my homie. Like a dog, he comes home when beckoned. He loves to be pet and loved. He loves to be pet and loved. 11 out of 10. Nicknames BC. Pretty fat kitty cat.
I love how it is sitting like a human. Thank you, Charles. That's good. Much better than a dog.
The Portuguese Mr. Davis. Hey, lads. Oh, man, when I said that on a stream, I got so much heat. The Portuguese Mr. Davis. Hey, lad. Back after a busy week. I just heard I graduated. Going to start an internship in a bank. Really excited. Hey, maybe you'll have some money in it. About Raw. Great wrestling, and this episode felt like the start of something, although next week it could be boring. Love you, team. That is something we should make reference to, actually. This was a good episode of Raw. You've got to keep that momentum going then. Next week's another 1 out of 5 show. This becomes an outlier.
Congratulations, Portuguese Mr. Davis.
Indeed.
Well done. That's great.
Sadie6969. Hey, boys. So, Raw happened. I think saying Shayna deserved better is like saying water is wet and LIW is awesome. It's obvious and almost doesn't require saying. RK Bro continues to be the best thing on this show. Love you both. The Pride shirts are awesome.
If you go to WrestleShop.com, you can get a Pride WrestleTalk t-shirt. 100% of the profits go to Stonewall, a charity. To do that.
Eternal Blue. As I've stated before, I don't watch WWE as I refuse to give them money. My reviews come through the IWC and I piece them together. This show doesn't seem more than a 2.5-star show. They actually lowered our expectations so low that we say it was 4 stars. Yes, Eternal Blue. That's exactly
what's happened.
That's exactly what has happened. Matthew Robinson, did you notice that Jinder Mahal Beers has a big chunk missing out of it? Also, wish some of those guys were part of the Money in the Bank qualifier.
I didn't spot that, no.
Maurice Robinson. Is Flair and Ripley supposed to be lesbians or lovers?
I don't think they've given any hint of that being part of the story.
Nope. No. Matthew Robinson, I feel like they've already given up on the Eva Marie story. What do you guys think? 100% they have. Clearly they already have.
Yeah.
HCB, excited for Money in the Bank matches and a good Raw, but odd that Ricochet and Morrison got qualifying matches considering they never win. Also, can you start each review from updating us on the Ripley Flair face heel dynamic, contender for the worst feud of the year?
The counter would always be boring.
Yeah.
Just nothing. There's nothing there. There's no character.
Nate S. The lack of star power in the Money in the Bank match seems ripe for a Brock Lesnar return to win the match he's not in again. Ricochet is just there to be the guy to get chucked off the roof. Luke, shoot your shot for AEW Taskmaster. I don't know if you saw this, but Chris Harrington of AEW has just discovered Taskmaster, and he said, it's now my mission to do an AEW version of Taskmaster.
The two things combined.
Lord Vortex 5 said, hi guys, just want to know if you at least liked Alexa Bliss's more aggressive side, and if they tune down the hypnosis, is this the way you like Alexa to go with in-ring action was good, or are you glad to see her back in the ring? I mean, I said this in my review yesterday, that actually watching her do a wrestle was way better than seeing her drop lights on people, so that was a thumbs up in my book.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think there is a version of this character that can work without supernatural guffins. And I like watching Bliss wrestle. I feel like it hardly happens the last couple of years.
Matthew Robinson, watch WWE change their minds and have Dewdrop and Eva Marie go back to week 1 after they course correct again as the audience and act as if the audience are idiots. Dean Barretton said The Miz will get his huge push now as he's in a wheelchair. And Chocobo Kid... And Chocobo Kid said Karrion Kross will get the Dark Father-esque character if he gets pushed to the main roster. Because there is, the report is that Scarlett Bordeaux is getting her own tryout match this Friday, and she wasn't with Karrion Kross for his tryout match that he had on main event. So it looks like that if they do bring them up to the main roster, they may split the act up.
Well, we'll see. I hope Scarlett gets to wrestle. I think that would be a good thing. But yeah, I don't want to see them get split up. I just don't see why you would do that to an act that's been very well molded in NXT rather. But thank you everybody.
What NXT is for anymore.
Yeah, thank you everybody for watching today, and thanks for all your very generous Ultra Chats and mod team as always. Producer Rich, Luke told me a story. Do you want to tell the story about is it your cousin's son or something? How they watch so much YouTube.
Oh. No, it was, so my wife told me this story. It's someone that she follows on Instagram. Their child watches so much stuff on YouTube that whenever their grandparents then wave bye to them on camera when they're doing Zoom chats or something, he goes, bye, like and subscribe, because he thinks that's how conversations naturally end, is you tell someone to like and subscribe.
So on that, bye, like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. Bye bye.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
Pull your